Well, hello everybody, this is Dave the Rave roving the rock, and I'm standing at the shore in Whiting Bay, just at the end of Montrose Terrace. I'm looking from there right round Whiting Bay, past the Eden Lodge and all the shops and restaurants and things in the centre, past Sam Braes, round to Holy Isle and over to the mainland. And the tide is mostly in. It's slightly windy here, but it's not stormy, maybe 25-mile-an-hour wind or something. And this is the 15th of February, so Valentine's Day was yesterday, and it's nearly 4 o'clock and it gets dark about 5:30, so it's going to be dark in about an hour and a half, and I haven't started to lose the light yet, but it's not very bright because it's a grey, kind of cloudy, dull day. Nothing special happening. It's nice and dry at least, and it's reasonably mild. It's just a nothing special blah day. But I'd settle for that in February because it can still be quite rubbish at this time of year. If I had to say what were the winter months of the year, I would say, if I had to pick 3 months for every season, then it would be December, January and February for the winter. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm still in the winter, and the spring months start in March, which is really when you see the daffodils flowering and things, and so I'm going to go for that. So I'm still in the winter just now, and I'm lucky to have a decent day basically, even if I'm not topping up my tan exactly. So that's where I am. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to a different village today. My plan is, well, I'm on my day off and I've done other things today. I actually met a couple of friends earlier on. I went for a walk up Easmore Waterfall earlier today, and also Loch Garbad. So I get about, you know what I mean? You know, Davey, he gets about. And so that was my early walk. That took the morning, and then I had lunch, and I'm making the most of my day off. I do 12-hour shifts at Calmac, and I've got 3 days off just now, and so I just like to get out and about, and I'm really looking forward to the spring coming, because that's my favourite time of the year. It's the driest time of the year for Arran, and you don't get too hot, you don't get too cold, the weather's perfect. I don't have wee Sally the Teenage Westie with me anymore. I've mentioned this before, I miss the dog terribly. Anybody who has had their dog and loved their dog will know that to lose your dog is at the very least to lose a loved one, and in fact for some people it can be the biggest loss of their lives, and I am one of them. So I miss Sally terribly, but on the plus side, that means that I don't have a dog to walk, and I can go places that I couldn't go before. So I'm looking forward to the spring for that reason, because I wouldn't have taken Sally the Teenage Westie, bless her, up into the mountains. I'm sure she would have tried to go, but 16-year-old Westie really isn't equipped to do that, you know. I'm not even sure if I'm equipped to do that. But the wee dog just didn't have the capacity to go places like that. So I'm going to make the most of it. That's what you've got to do. You can't change where you are, you can't change what you've got. We've all got our battles, but we can fight the best battle we can, and that's what I always do, to be honest. I use what I have, make the most of it, and that's the only thing you can do. So my plan is to go, I'm going to start walking from here and go up towards Giant's Graves, and then I'm going to go past Giant's Graves to an unpronounceable place. I've been in Arran 38 years, I've been in Whiting Bay almost all of those years. I've been to Giant's Graves hundreds of times because that's my regular run route, and yet it turns out that there is a place beside Giant's Graves which I've never even heard of until a couple of weeks ago, and I don't even know how to say it, so I'll spell it. Torr, T-O-R-R, and then An, A-N, and then goodness knows what this is, Loisgte. Somebody else will know what it is, but I don't. It's a Gaelic word. L-O-I-S-G-T-E. Okay, so hopefully one of you can spell that, can pronounce that. I can't. So what am I going to call that? Torr An Loisgte. That's just been renamed Torr An Loisgte by Dave the Rave, who is raving at this point rather than roving. And I should probably get on with the roving more than the raving at this junction. So that place is completely unheard of to me, and I've looked up on the internet. There are only a couple of mentions on it. No photographs. Nobody goes there. There's not signposted as far as I know. I might not even find it, and that is a worry. But in any case, I'll still post this video, because if I don't manage, I'll go back another time and look a bit harder. But it's very close to Giant's Graves. It's kind of round the corner and up a bit is the idea. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to tell some stories on the way up. I was going to bring the guitar, but I think being that I'm this late in the day, I probably shouldn't be messing about taking a guitar up and then getting caught when it's pitch black with a guitar on my back. So I'll spare you the musical interlude for today, and I'll just tell a few stories instead on the way up and take in the view and describe what I can see. Okay, I better get on with it. Cheers, years. Okay, so here I am at the map of Glenashdale Falls and Giant's Graves, and it's showing me the route where I am at Ashdale Bridge near Largy Moor, and then I'm going to go up to the junction where you can go right for Glenashdale Falls and left for Giant's Graves. I'm going to take the left turn, go up the very steep zigzaggy path, carry on up the big steep hill. It's very steep to Giant's Graves. There it is. Then I'm going to go round the corner till it hits the forestry track. I'm going to turn right at the forestry track and go along it a little bit. Oh look, and in fact there it is. There's the name I was trying to say. Torr An Loisgte. Chambered cairn, Torr An Loisgte. Whatever that is. So it is on the map, but it's not signposted. I've never seen a signpost for that. I'm not convinced I'm going to find it. I've never seen it before. But in any case, I'm going to look and I'm going to have fun trying. Fingers crossed. It's funny how it says chambered cairn in a different place from, of course, Torr An Loisgte is the hill. That's where it is. So it's Torr An Loisgte, excuse language, hill, chambered cairn. Right, there we go. So that's what it is, on that hill. So I'm going along, and it's just off the track, and I'm told there's a picnic bench near there as well. Fingers crossed. Right. Anyway, hopefully it'll still be daylight anyway, because it'll be impossible if I go up there and it's pitch black. Right. Okay, in front of me is the youth hostel, or what used to be the youth hostel in Whiting Bay, and that marks the start of the path up to Glenashdale. And on my right is the Glenashdale Burn. Behind me is the sea, of course. Right, I better get on with it. Cheers. I just thought I'd stop for a wee second and take in the Ashdale Burn here. It's just lovely. There was some rain this morning, but mostly lately it's been dry. So there's a bit of water in the burn, but not too much. In front of me is pretty straight all the way up, and you can just see the river going from left to right, with stones dotting about the surface, lots of big stones, about 3 feet across each on average. In the middle of the river is a massive rope swing hanging off a tree, and that's quite impressive, because the rope is hanging pretty much off the middle of over the middle of the river, so you'd have to get hold of it on one bank and then kind of ferry yourself over and hope you make it over to the other bank. You'd have to have one heck of a swing to do that. So Whoever does that is quite brave, and to be honest has my admiration. I don't think you're going to make it very often. I think you're going to end up in the burn more times than not. Across the way from me, a succession of small cottages, all very nice, pretty. Not much greenery because it's the winter. And you can see quite clearly at this time of year because it's a good time to look at things because you don't get your view obscured by leaves and greenery and things, so you just get a good view. There's one bush across the way there that's covered in red flowers, an evergreen. That's coming out lovely. I've got one in my garden that's like that as well, just about to flower. And that's pretty much it, and just the sound of the river. It's a good start to the walk. Well, I'll get back up from the side there. Back up onto my path. It's a well-made path that I'm walking on. You can actually drive a car up this part of the path towards Glenasdale. There are a few houses up here, but it's a dead end really, so you wouldn't do that unless you lived here. Lovely wee cottage there on my left, and then one more house in front of me, and that's the last one on the track and the end of the track, where it starts to go to a smaller path. Okay, right, this house on the left here's got a lovely circular kind of window as well at the gable end. That's lovely. Stonework all the way around. Very pretty indeed. Okay, right, onwards and upwards. Okay, I've got my last glimpse of the burn going away from me there. I'm just about to leave it behind. I'll just turn around. I'm at a junction in the path, the one I was talking about before, where left takes me to Giant's Graves and right takes me to Glenasdale Falls. There we go, and there's a signpost for that here. Glenasdale, good path both directions, and it goes in a circle. It's a circular route, but I'm going to take the left hand path, which is the steeper of the two by some margin. I've run up this many times actually, to be fair. I always figure if I can run up this path, I'm doing alright, you know, because even just to walk up it is quite hard work. So to run up it really at any pace without stopping is good going, so it's a good test. So since I'm starting up this wee bit, I might as well talk a bit. I'll talk about my first story. Like I was saying, I did quite a few days work. I think it was 4 days I did, and then I'm off for 3. And because the weather was mild and dry, I tried to do a bit of fitness when I can, and I've got my dad's old touring bike, and I figured, okay, I'll try cycling to work the first day, and cycle back and see how I get on, and I did it. And so I cycled from Whiting Bay to Brodick at the beginning of my shift and at the end, and that's 8 miles each way, with a couple of big hills in that as well, and that's 16 miles. Also did a bit of exercise my lunch as well, so I did well, and I managed it, and I ended up doing it all 4 days, and I can tell you, by the end of the 4th day when I got home, I can manage the cycle fine, but I felt quite drained, you know, because I wasn't used to it, but I'm proud that I did it, and so I'm planning on keeping up that habit, even if it's only on decent days. I'll say this, that old bike of my dad's has got mud guards on it, and they make a big difference. I mean, if the road's covered in water, I just don't get sprayed at all. The only time I get wet is when it's raining on me. So the bikes that don't have mud guards, I mean, they're pretty hopeless by comparison. I'm glad, I'll just stick with the old comfy one. I like those mud guards on there, and it does a good job, and it's got nice thick tyres and they're cushioned and things. I know that, just showing my age, but anyway, so I'm proud of that, and that's a habit I'm going to keep up. A few days, the last day off I had before I went to work, I also went for a cycle in the early evening. That was my exercise for the day, and I went from Whiting Bay
past Kildonan, up towards Lag, and then turned around and came back. And as I came back, I was approaching the turn off for High Kildonan at the top of Church Brae, where Easmore Waterfall car park is, and a bus overtook me and went down into Kildonan, and it got a head start on me. It was ahead of me, and I thought, I've raced this bus before. You might know this already because I've mentioned it. In the 80s, in the early 80s, I was a surveyor in Glasgow, and I didn't have the bus fare, and I used to race the buses several miles, 3 or 4 miles from the centre of Glasgow to the West End, Byres Road, and I'd try and beat the buses home, just run, you know, wait for the bus and then run, and I never beat it. One time I should have, but the bus driver actually clocked me and put his foot down at the end and managed to beat me. So I tried to race this bus from Kildonan a few weeks ago, and it was a draw, because as I was overtaking him, just when I got to where I live, he started to pull out, so I got level with him. I caught up with him, but I didn't overtake him. So this time, even more determined, but this time the buses got the head start on me. It was ahead of me, and put my foot down, went as fast as I possibly could. The bus was in front of me all the way down the hill from Kildonan down to Whiting Bay, which I knew it would be. If there's any chance though of it stopping at a bus stop, I might beat it. Just like when I was a kid, when I was a young man in Glasgow, well, 40 years ago actually. Yeah, it's 40 years ago. Exactly 40 years ago. And so this is one for the young Dave against these bus drivers, you know, and pesky buses beating me. And I pedalled like mad, like fury, and the bus did stop right before where I was going to stop, in the centre of the village. Going like mad, pedalling as hard as I possibly can. Can't stop for a second. I'm just about to overtake the bus, and I can feel my body retching at this point. So I'm not actually being sick, but it's starting to, it's just rejecting the whole effort. And if there's anybody listening to this that's really seriously pushed themselves before, someone who's serious about sport, they'll probably recognise this. That's when your brain has demanded so much from your body that there's nothing left to give, and your body in effect is just rejecting the entire effort. It can't produce the goods anymore. It just can't do what you're asking for. So it starts to do that, and I've only got maybe 1 minute left. So it's a kind of a balancing act. You've got to not fail but still beat this bus. Anyway, in the end I wasn't sick, although I was really starting to be, and I did beat the bus, and then it went past me just after I stopped. So there's one for young Dave. 2 happy cycling stories there. Taking in the view just for a second, starting to get out of breath because I'm going up the hill, and it's steep. So I've done all this cycling, proud of that, and I finally beat the bus on my dad's old touring bike. It might be easier to do in a race or something, but that's not what my dad's bike is. It's an old one with just standard pedals and things, old sprung saddle. And I did beat it, and I had to give everything I possibly had to do it, and I produced it and I beat it. So that's one for young Dave. I've waited 40 years for that. And the last one, cycling story. Here I'm telling you 3 cycling things at the same time. I've also mentioned before, young Dave, going back to the 70s now, my best possession was my bicycle. In those days that was the equivalent of a mobile phone these days. The bicycle was your freedom, it was your passport to freedom. You didn't have the electrical gadgets, you had a bike if you were lucky, and if you were extremely lucky you had a rally chopper, and then that was the, you know, that was the be all and end all, with a little gear stick in front of you. God help you if you came off the saddle and went forwards, because you'd impale yourself on the gear stick. Later versions, later reincarnations did not have that 3-speed gear stick shift gear sitting in front of the saddle, but the original ones did. Now, we didn't have any health and safety in those days, and I really mean that. I'd never heard those words before, and so a rally chopper was the thing to have. I didn't have one of them, although I would have loved to, but I used to cycle no hands, and I cycle everywhere. I didn't think anything of it, you know, just cycle no hands and swing the left to right, you know, steering with no hands and all this kind of stuff. And I haven't done it as an adult, and I've been cycling quite regularly lately, and I haven't done it until yesterday. There's the thing. And I cycled through to Kildonan yesterday, and to see a friend, Neil May, and go for a cup of coffee. And on the way through Kildonan on the low road, nice and easy, I thought, I'm going to let go of these handlebars. I'm just going to do it. And if I could do it as a young man, surely I must be able to do it now. The only difference is, as a young man, I wasn't really scared of the fall. I am a bit more scared of it now, because, just to be honest, I'm a bit more fragile than I used to be. And at 58, I let go of the handlebars. And nothing terrible happened. I managed to carry on cycling. And I'm proud of that. So, in the same cycle, no, sorry, two different cycles, one to Kildonan and one up to Butterhill. I took 2 scalps in the name of young Dave. Beat the bus and showed that I'm just as casual as the casual youngster was, and went no hands. So I'm proud of my cycling prowess for the week. Has done me proud, and I'm really chuffed to say that that I did that. That was a good one. Now I'm nearly at the top, just in the time I've been talking there. I'll just stop for a second, taking that view of Whiting Bay. Amazing. No noise coming from there. The only thing I can hear is the sound of the burn and birds. That's it. Beautiful view. Looking over to the mainland, can just make out the outline of the land in the mainland, but it's a bit of a grey day, so it's kind of obscured. But Whiting Bay just looks great. Golf course road in front of me there. Anyway, right, I better get on, so I'll stop rabbiting, do a bit more walking, and tell another story a little bit further up. Okay, I've stopped just before I'm getting to Giant's Graves, because I've got the best view, or the last view, of Whiting Bay before I get to where the graves are. The whole village is displayed in front of me. I'm a bit higher than I was, so maybe 400 feet above the village, somewhere about there. I can see over the hills past Holyell to Lamlash Bay in the distance, and on a good day I can see Goatfell, although today it's slightly obscured by the clouds. But it's one of the best views anywhere, it really is, just gorgeous. So my next wee story here, well, not so much a story, but just a thing of interest. Today is February the 15th, so yesterday was Valentine's Day. And as usual, I hurried home and waited to see if there was a glittering array of cards, but there weren't this year. There were 3 letters in my door, but sadly all of them were from people other than admirers, secret admirers, which was somewhat disappointing, although not altogether unsurprising, I would have to say. Being that my track record to date of 58 years of collecting and then 58 years of Valentine's Days that I've lived through, I've amassed a sum total of 0 cards from secret admirers. So I imagine they've been lost in the post. There's probably quite a few of them in there, and they'll arrive at one point in the future. Since I'm talking about Valentine's Day, I think I'll just say, in case anybody doesn't know what it is, it was Saint Valentine who died on the 14th of February 270 AD, and that's the reason for Valentine's Day. And he was a Roman Catholic priest, and he did 2 things. The first thing is that he married couples because the emperor at the time, Claudius II, didn't want men to marry because he felt that they made better soldiers if they were unmarried. So he wanted them to stay unmarried, and if they were married, then they wouldn't be taken away and put into the army for the war. So he married couples to spare men from the war, basically, and eventually he was imprisoned for that. And when he was in prison, he befriended the daughter of his jailer, and then cured her, apparently, of her blindness. So he did these two remarkable things, certainly the first one, hopefully did the second one, and in the end he was executed for his efforts anyway, which is a shame, but that's, and then became a saint. So that is the reason for Valentine's Day. The Catholic priest from 270 AD, Saint Valentine. And that's my little story looking over the village just now. Okay, I'll get on with it. I feel like it's getting dark. It shouldn't be, but you never really know. I've got 2 torches in my bag, so I am safe anyway. Okay, away we go. Okay, I've made it to Giant's Graves. Here we are. Looking straight down through the stones. They're kind of impressive, the Giant's Graves, because you can see these big stones and you can imagine, you know, what's going on. A bit like kind of mini Stonehenge or something, but in fact, this is about the most robbed of the 7 cairns in Arran, and that's the reason why you can see these big stones that make up the main chamber. It would have had a massive mound of earth going right over the top, and it doesn't, because people have robbed these stones over the years and just exposed what's underneath and left the big ones because they're too big to move. So although I've really always kind of held this place with a bit of awe, really, to be honest, because it is impressive and the stones are incredible. I don't know how big they are under the ground. Actually, you know, this one has been you know, largely completely damaged and destroyed, whereas the one I'm going to was only discovered in the 1970s, from the sparse information I have on the internet. And that's the point. This place is well known. The place that I'm going to is not well known and has been subject to very little stone robbing at all. So I'm looking forward to getting there, if I find it, of course. So while I'm walking through the graves here, I'll just tell my next little story. I was at work the day before yesterday. I came in from doing my duties, and I went up to the front desk, and there were 2 people in a heated discussion, Kev and Ian, and it went like this. No, it isn't. Aye, it's so. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. It's snuffling. No, it isn't. It's snaffling. No, snuffling. Always snuffling. No way. It's always snaffling. It's been snaffling. And so I said, what are you talking about? Snuffling and snaffling. And with this like intense discussion, very serious. And it's the pig. It's snuffling, says Ian. No, says Kev, no it isn't. It was snaffling. Snaffling pig. It's a snaffling pig. And Ian says, snuffling? Nope. And Ian says, well, what's the difference, snuffling and snaffling? And there's a pause, and Kev says, oh, there's a very big difference indeed, Ian, a very big difference. And Ian says, well, what is that difference then, Kev? He says, well, it's like this, Ian. One of them is a snuffling pig, and the other one is a snaffling pig. Do you understand? So, snuffling or snaffling, it's not the same thing. There's a big difference there, Ian. I said, oh, geez. And I said, well, I think that pigs actually do snuffle rather than snaffle. And Ian goes, I've never even heard of snaffling, Kev. What is snaffling? There's only meant to be snuffling going on here with the pigs. What happens if there was a pig snaffling? And he says, well, it's like this. A snuffling pig, snuffling, right? Snuffling away with its nose, snuffle, snuffle. Whereas the snaffling pig would be snaffling away with whatever it is you're trying to eat. It would be snaffling it away. So, the snaffling pig is eating the stuff. The snuffling pig is just sniffing it, it's just smelling it. So, there's the difference here, and I think there's a big difference there. And so, well, snuffling, well, haven't you ever heard of a snuffling pig? Ah, but says Kev, this is the snuffling pig co that I'm talking about here, and they make crisps. And that's right, the snaffling pig co, and they make crisps, whereas the snuffling pig is just a pig. It's not a company. It doesn't make crisps. I think that's the difference between those two. And so that was the end of that conversation. I left that conversation. It's okay, I've learned something, I think. Left that room. You want to close your ears at this point if you're of a nervous disposition. And went into the next room. And I'll not say whether it was customers or staff. So, and someone comes and says, what do you think, Dave? What about? Well, if you've done the toilet, do you wipe upwards or downwards? Is it up or down? What? Oh no, I don't even know. No, don't ask me what hand. I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm learning everything today, you know. Straight from one conversation to another. Snaffling pig, and then that. So anyway, there we go. There's my funny story for that. That's the level of discussion and the source of all my intellect and information from these kind of things. Okay, I'm at the crossroads here above Giant's Graves. It says High Kildonan, turn left, and what I've joined the forestry road. Glenastil Falls, turn right, and if you want Giant's Graves, go back where you came from. Go back. Okay. So I'm not going to go back. I'm going to go right towards Glenastil Falls, and then hopefully find where I'm going to. Okay, I'll turn this off for a wee second and then back on when I get there, hopefully, or just when I find where it's going to be. Cheers. Well, I'm looking down the forestry road back down towards Giant's Graves, which is only a few hundred yards down that road there, maybe 300 or 400 yards. If I turn around, I've got a path in front of me with an orange pole at the left hand side of it. And if I turn right round, the forestry path going away from me, and then Whiting Bay and that spectacular view in the distance. So I've been down the path a little bit, the main forestry track. The only path I can see is this one with the orange pole, and so that's where I'm going to go. I'm starting to lose the light, so if it's not here, I'm not going to find it. I've been up and down, and this is the only path I've seen. So if you do come here, and this ends up being the right place, that orange pole was what denoted it. I haven't been along here. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere at all. But I'm kind of hopeful that it's going to, because it's the only turn off I've seen. I've passed that orange pole many times, and I've always thought it was just something for the forestry people. So I'm going over a grassy, bumpy path. It's a well-made path. It's not being maintained or used very much, but it is solid underfoot. So I think it's been made, it's got a surface under it, I think. I'm managing okay, I haven't come across any boggy bits. It's just kind of difficult underfoot because it's not flat. There's a lot of roots and things, just things that have fallen on the ground. I'm just going to carry on along this path. There are some leaves that have been cut down on the side, so somebody's keeping this path open. So that's one thing. I think this must be it. So I'm just going to continue along it and really hope. If it isn't it, like I say, I've failed. There are no other ways, and that's okay. Gives me something else to do another day. but I'm not expecting to have failed here because there are no other choices. So there are a lot of leaves on the ground here, a lot of little branches and things that must have been poking out over the path. So I'm thinking it's going somewhere. It must be something important. I'm just going to keep the camera on and carry on along this. Oh, big bird of prey just there, just taking off from the trees in front of me. Don't know what kind of bird of prey it was, but I don't really know one from the other. I know buzzards because I've had many encounters with buzzards, and they don't like runners. There's a boggy bit, just step over that bit there. Now, it did say that this cairn is only 200 metres from the forestry. Oh, I've just seen a big stone in front of me. That makes sense. What is that? Is that part of it? Maybe. Let's have a look. No, it's a tree trunk. Duffed it. But the path's continuing on, so I'll carry on with that. This is a boggy bit here. Okay, I have to jump over here. You hear the water? There we go. Okay, going back uphill a bit. Nice path now. Again, lots of these branches been cut off. If this was just for forestry, I don't think someone would have been keeping this clear like this, so I think it's going somewhere. And also I can see some feet have worn out this path now, the bit that I'm at here. People have walked on this recently. So I think I'm heading somewhere. Hopefully not up that big hill there, but we'll see. The big hill in front of me. Okay, where am I going now? Over a little burn bit here. Easy to step over. Hopefully I don't put my foot in it. Boggy on the other side, nothing I can do about it. There we go, over. And now I'm going uphill, steeply uphill. Right. Now I'm kind of feeling like I've done 200 yards now. So maybe I won't have to go right up this bit here. This is a good path. So I know I went over a little river bit there, but this path is decent. Yes, I'm going up quite steeply now. I'm just going to carry on. So while I'm going up here, I'll tell you something. All our lives we somewhat question who we are and how good a person we are. You know, we wake up in the morning, we have good intentions of helping people and being decent, and we're fallible. You know, we don't always do everything perfectly, and in the end, with an idea that we're kind of decent but kind of fallible, hopefully we're seen as being a decent person, you know, helpful person. Somebody came up to me at the desk the other day, a couple of days ago, and said to me, thanked me for how much I'd helped him, and he'd had quite a few problems. I won't go into them, I won't say his name either, but he was on the floor really, and the advice I'd given him had turned everything around. And also I'd entered him in a running race because I knew he liked running, to give him something to aim for, a half marathon, and he'd gone and completed it and got his fitness back and got rid of his bad habits, and mentally and physically he was much stronger. He was standing in front of me telling me that his life was so much changed for the better, and he hadn't had any of the problems that he'd had in the past for a year. So he'd been, you know, if you understand, clean living in every way for a year, and so emotionally, financially, physically, all of that was coming together, and he was in a good place. And I remember some of the things he said, and the main one he said, I remembered when I was in my darkest place, what you said when you were running around Arran, you didn't stop. You told me because you were so scared of what would happen. If you did stop, you'd have to do it again, you'd have to put yourself through all that pain again, and it was so uncomfortable, so terrible, you know, that you couldn't face doing it twice. So it actually kept you going. You made sure you completed it, just because to do it twice would be unthinkable. And he says I bore that in mind anytime I was doubting or struggling, and it kept me going, this advice. And also you entering me in this race, and I got back into running. And so in the end, he says, basically my life's turned around. And I'm standing in front of you in a good place, in the best place I've been in years. He says, and I'm thanking you for that, because you were the main, you were the influence, which is terrific to hear. But then he went further. He says, if you don't mind me being honest, after a wee pause, he said, and he looked serious me in the eye, if you don't mind me being honest, you're actually my guardian angel, my living guardian angel, and I'm not like messing about here. I apologise if that's too much for you, but that's who you are to me. I'm thinking about it. I don't think I've had a bigger compliment in my entire life. Whether it's actually right or wrong, you never know. It almost doesn't matter. Could you think of a better thing, a nicer thing to say to somebody? I'm his guardian angel. So I am at this point, or at least for this day, not doubting who I am or whether I'm a good person. I took a lot of pride in what he said there. I'm kind of feeling like I've got somewhere here. Let's have a look. There's a lot of branches in the ground, a lot of trees and things. Maybe I'm not going anywhere. Maybe that's it. A lot of, well, that's tree trunks I think. Let's go back over here again. I feel like the path's run out. Have I duffed it? I might have. Well, there's a grassy area over there. It might have turned off and I've missed it. Let's just have a look. I have a feeling I'm going nowhere apart from to a forestry place here, so I might have duffed it. I might have to come back. But that's okay. I don't mind that. Although it will be the first time I've not made it to wherever I was aiming for. Let's have a look here. Right, well, I'm not on the path here. I'm on a little rough bit. So that's obviously gone wrong. Backtrack a little bit. I was getting into my story probably and going the wrong way. Let's go back. There is a kind of clearing over on the side there. Yeah, I think there might be a path going up there. Yeah, I think I might have taken a wrong turn. Let's have a look and see. What a duffer. Dave the Duffer. Not Dave the Rave. Right. Yes, there's a lot of footprints going up this direction as well. So there's like a junction there. People walking two different directions. Suppose that does bode well because it means there's a lot of movement up here. Maybe it's just people taking down trees. Ah, I can see stones. I can see stones. Yeah, I am here. Okay, I've done it. Wow. There we go. Right. And there. No, that isn't stones, that's trees. Duffed it again, but this path is continuing, so that's where I've gone wrong. I'm just going to carry on along this path. Went a bit wonky there. So, if ever I was questioning who I am, that was just the most wonderful thing, you know. To be told that you're actually a guardian angel is a, well, it's an amazing compliment, and I didn't see that coming, you know. So, and they look great. So I'm really chuffed, to be honest. Right, coming out to a kind of grassy area here. I feel like I've done a lot more than 200 yards, so I am questioning whether I'm going to get there at all now. It's just funny how the path went in two different directions. And it's continuing up this way now. I'm not sure. I might end up being lost in the lost and found at this rate. Wow, I've certainly never been here before. So, it's an adventure. Well, and I can see quite far in the distance. I don't see any sign of any stones. No, I don't see any. I think I'll turn the camera off for a bit and just carry on up here and see if it goes anywhere. Okay. Okay, I'm very high now. I haven't found where I meant to be going to. I'm much higher than I was. I'm looking down at the forestry track, which I was going along. I can actually see giant's graves if I step sideways a bit. I'm going to do that actually. 1 second. There we go. Okay, I'm now looking down towards giant's graves. Way below me, a small green patch. A clearing in the middle of the forestry with some stones in the middle. And then if I come back, the forestry road, well, going all the way into Whiting Bay. There we go, in Holy Isle. And if I'm accurate about it, I'm standing at the top of a cliff, a massive cliff. I've come several hundred feet up from that forestry track actually, so I'm far too high. I must be way above where I'm meant to be. But I'm at the top of the hill, at the very top of the hill, away off the beaten track now, and just taking in this view, which I've never seen before. And it's a wonderful view. I'm extremely high up. I must be pretty much the same height as Holy Isle now, about 1,000 feet up. And I'll just get my watch here and have a look at see what time it is. 1 second. It's 5:24. According to Google, when I came up here, it gets dark at 5:25. So this is it going to start getting dark now. So although I've got the view, I'm going to have to give up with where I was going to. But it's been an adventure, and I got to a different place from the one I was expecting. And I have got a torch, like I said. I might even get a nice view from Giant's Graves down over Whiting Bay in the mainland with the street lights by the time I get down there. So I'll come back another time, maybe bring somebody with me that does actually know where it is. Good. Okay, I better be off. Cheers. Well, I'm back at Giant's Graves again. I didn't find it, I didn't find where I was going to. And my reference point, of course, was a picnic bench, which is no longer there. There isn't a picnic bench along that track. So I didn't find it, but to be honest, it was more to do with getting out and charging about, really. And it leaves me something to find in the future, so that's okay. So I'll come back up here maybe next week actually and bring something more accurate that can, because I didn't see any path going off the forestry at all apart from the one I was on. I've been up and down it twice. I've taken my time because I'm actually quite keen just to look over Whiting Bay with the street lights and things and take in this Giant's Graves at dusk. I was standing, by the way, on top of the hill which I'm looking at above Giant's Graves. So I'm looking at Giant's Graves, I'm looking way in the distance and up to the top of a big hill, and I was standing on top of that hill looking down and down to here. I'm not sure exactly what part of the hill, if it was the right hand part or the left hand part, but I was at the top. So it was quite high up because that's looking a long way up from the graves. But anyway, there we go. So I duffed it. It is dusk now, and if I go around the corner I should get a good view of the mainland and the village, which I'll just do now. Okay, there we have it, Whiting Bay at dusk, or really pretty much night time now. It's getting dark fast. So I can see the street lights and cars going past. I can see Holy Isle in the distance. A lot of sparkling lights, the street lights are on. I can make out the mainland beyond and the lights over there. The Holy Isle all in darkness, apart from the wee green light flashing on it of the lighthouse. The few houses in King's Cross. It's perfectly clear over in the mainland now. You can see very easily. Still a cloudy sky, but it's dry. And right down, so I'm going to move slightly here, so I'll lose my footing. Right down there, right at the end, I'm just going to have a look here. I can see a bus at the bus stop. Let's see if I can see it. A stagecoach bus turning round at the bus stop. And that's it, just leaving right on cue, going along the road. There we go, back towards Lamlash. Just turns round at the end of Montrose Terrace and heads back towards Lamash. And the sky looks nice. It's kind of lighter blue, still quite light blue even though it's dark, but the village itself looks pitch black with the lights against it silhouetted. Really beautiful. No noise up here, just I can still hear birds, which is surprising at this time of night, but I can. I can hear wind and the very odd vehicle. I can still see the bus going along the road there, and I can hear the sea. And that's pretty much it. Well, I'm glad I waited to come up here and catch it in the dark. I haven't met anybody else, I'm not going to. And it's just as well I'm not afraid of ghosts, because if I was, now's your chance. Now's your chance. Come and get me. Or whatever you're going to do. Maybe they do good things. Like guardian angels. Hopefully. Hopefully they're real. Oh, dog barking. That is a long way. I can hear a dog barking in a village. Isn't that great? Fantastic. Shows how quiet it is up here. I can even tell you it's not a very big dog, just from the bark. That's wonderful. A lot more lights in the mainland from here because, of course, I'm high up, which I've mentioned before. So you don't just get the odd light, you get quite a lot of lights. Because you're looking down on them from a better angle. I don't know what the towns are. Wish I did. Yep, just beautiful. Well, I will need my torch if I turn around here. There's my path. I can actually just make it out no more, but it's pretty much pitch black. I can see a couple of houses in the distance at the bottom of the hill, and there's my torch on, and it is going to show me which way to go. Just as well I've got it. Here's the last glimpse of Whiting Bay. I'm nearly back down the hill. It's completely pitch black now. Very quiet down there. Can't even hear any traffic now. Everyone's probably getting their dinner, watching the telly. Unbelievably, I'll just turn around here and look back up the path. That path is pitch black. I'll just unzip here, and I can't see anything. I mean, I can just make out the direction of the path with my eyes. If I put my torch on, the torch lights up where the path is. Right, I'm just showing the torch up. It's just a little torch, but it does the job. It shows me where I'm walking, right? But it also, more than anything, shows just how dark the night is. I'm just shining it on the bench beside me. A bench, but the wrong bench, since I was looking for a bench earlier on. If I don't have that torch on, I can just see where I'm going and no more. But it really is, it gives a good indication of how dark it is around when I've got it on. And I just passed somebody walking up the hill. I didn't expect that. And actually going to Kildonan over the hill. That's amazing. So the person didn't want to be filmed, so I'm not gonna say, but isn't that amazing? And they aren't even using a torch, they just use their eyes and they can see where they're going. So you never know. I mean, I think that's very impressive. Somebody deciding to charge over the hill in the pitch black, and not even needing to use the torch because they used their eyes. So that was a surprise. Still hear that dog barking down there. Barking away. Anyway, okay, I'm off for my dinner. That's Dave the Rave over and out. Cheers. Just for comparison, I'm back in the exact same spot as I started the walk from, at the end of Montrose Terrace, looking down through the village. The tide's fully in now and it's hitting against the sea wall. It's completely pitch black. I'm looking the exact same view as I was before. It's a nice evening. The lights are very clear. Street lights, all the lights in the buildings. And all the way along the village, I can see one or two lights on the top of King's Cross. And the red and the green light on Holy Isle. And as I was saying before, I can see lights in the mainland, but there aren't as many, and they're not very clear. Mostly hidden from view now. Hopefully you can hear the sea. I'll just turn around here and looking back towards Black Rocks. There we go.